Good evening. My name is Jeff George, and I'm a property owner here in Monmouth County. This is now the 7th time I've come before this council in the last 10 months to speak about the constitutionality of the Israeli flag display at Pier Village. Over that time, I have made common sense arguments. I have made legal arguments. I have even made biblical arguments. And you people have responded with deflections, logical fallacies, and by completely ignoring the substance of my arguments. Instead, the mayor and the city attorney continue to mindlessly parrot the same line over and over again, that Pier Village is private property. But after reviewing the city's own redevelopment guideline handbooks for the oceanfront redevelopment zone, it has become increasingly clear that Pier Village was never treated like an ordinary private development. Book 1 establishes the master framework controlling land use, access, signage, parking, architecture, landscaping, circulation, and urban design. Book 2 specifically governs the village center at Pier Village itself, with detailed controls over density, permitted uses, parking access, and development standards. Book 8 states that projects within the redevelopment zone must comply with these redevelopment guideline books unless specifically modified by the city. That is not how an ordinary private shopping center operates, folks. That is how a publicly engineered redevelopment district operates. And the city's involvement does not stop at redevelopment planning. It extends into policing, public resources, and ongoing operational support. The Long Branch Police Department literally maintains a satellite office at Pier Village. There is clearly a disproportionate concentration of police resources at Pier Village, while large stretches north and south along the promenade often have little or no visible patrol presence at all. So the obvious question becomes, why are Long Branch taxpayers footing the bill for what effectively amounts to dedicated police security for an allegedly private property? If Pier Village is supposedly just another private commercial property, why is it treated differently from every other private commercial center in America? Why aren't the developers hiring private security like every other privately owned mall and commercial complex? And if this is merely private property, then why are public police resources so heavily concentrated there, while the city simultaneously uses private property argument to avoid constitutional scrutiny? Residents are beginning to wonder whether there is some kind of political favoritism or quid pro quo relationship between Mayor Pallone and the Kushner interests behind Pier Village. Because from the outside looking in, it certainly appears that Pier Village receives an extraordinary level of public police protection and municipal support that ordinary private developments do not receive. And here's where the hypocrisy becomes impossible to ignore. When I raise constitutional concerns about the political displays at Pier Village, the city suddenly says, sorry, it's private property, we must protect the owner's First Amendment rights. But when I attempt to organize a protest, organizing my own First Amendment rights, the city changes its tune completely and tries to impose over $3,300 in fees in order to have that protest. So apparently Jared Kushner's speech rights are protected at taxpayer expense, but citizens like myself exercising dissenting speech are handed a bill. And today I received a legal notice from the city attorney threatening to arrest me if the protest were to proceed. That is not viewpoint neutrality. That is not equal treatment. The Constitution does not permit the government to place massive financial burdens on speech simply because officials dislike the message or want to discourage the event from occurring. The city cannot continue playing both sides. When it benefits the city politically, Pier Village is treated like a publicly supported redevelopment district, planned by the city, regulated by the city, patrolled by the city, and promoted by the city. But the moment citizens raise constitutional concerns, suddenly everyone hides behind the phrase, private property. Mr. Mayor, from the bottom of my heart, I believe that you are a soulless, dead-eyed creep. And Mr. City Attorney, you are a lying hypocrite. And I think everyone in this town, along with everyone watching on YouTube right now, can see straight through the lies and the double standards and the utter bullshit that spews out of your mouths every time you are challenged on this issue. Thank you.
Would anybody like to respond?
If I can, Mr. Mayor, I'm sorry that Mr. Wallstein is unhappy with the laws that exist in America. I don't know what I can do to help him. I'm sorry that he's offended by the fact that,
Please.
excuse me,
Please. You're-
I didn't interrupt,
Double down on the fallacies, Mr.
Please
City Attorney.
sir,
stop
I didn't
talking.
interrupt you, so don't interrupt me. The First Amendment works for everybody. It doesn't just work for people who come from another town and come into Long Branch and complain about what's going on here. So I wish that the television cameras can see how childish you're being now, because you're acting like my 5-year-old grandson. So,
If you keep on talking, we're going to have to
So-
we're going to have to ask you to leave
So-
if you keep on talking.
I'm
please
addressing
don't.
your question. So the fact of the matter is that people have rights on their private property, and I know that offends you. You have a right on your private property. You know, I was thinking about the fact that when the Ukraine war happened, that all over the town that I live in Middletown, there were Ukrainian flags all over the place. I thought it was great. It was people showing solidarity there. I assume that if there's an earthquake in Italy and something terrible happens there, I might put an Italian flag out because I'm Italian. I'm allowed to do that, and you don't have a right. Your First Amendment right ends on my property. So, once again,
Please,
once again.
people
So,
from the audience.
The point of it being is this, is that the First Amendment applies to everybody. Not just you, it applies to whoever owned, the Kushners who own Pier Village, it applies to them. And you can't come in and read our zoning ordinance, which applies, by the way, to everybody in town. The redevelopment plan is just a zoning ordinance. That because there's a zoning ordinance, it means that we own your property. It's so ridiculous that I don't even know how to explain it. So that having been said, that's that. So as to your event permit, you and I are in a dialogue. I'm going to answer your communication from yesterday. You asked some questions. I'll answer them tomorrow. And we handle that event permit exactly the way we handle every event permit that comes into the city. We'll continue to do that. You know, it's a pretty well-established permitting process. It's been reviewed by courts before. We use it all the time. So you can continue to, you know, you have a right to continue to ask questions, and I'll continue to answer your questions is what we do.
I'm going to ask you to leave.
Bye,
Bye.
useless president. You got owned.
Okay. Thank you, Council President. I don't have anything else to say.
Would anyone else have any comment?